right, everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Trailhead. This week we have a great guest with us. We got Gary Benninger from Gryphon Gear. Gary, nice to finally see you again. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you
Awesome.
for
Well,
inviting me.
no, thank you. I appreciate it. We randomly met through a mutual friend, so to speak, and just wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and your company. We've had other quilt and sleeping bag brands on here, but I love hearing the story of the founder. You know, how you became the company that you are, came up with the idea behind it. I know just from chatting with you a lot, you've got so much life experience that I just love hearing stories. You got some cool pictures behind you, even right there, that I know,
Yeah, you can see there.
yeah, are just amazing. So I guess without further ado, Gary, if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about Gryphon Gear, how you got started, and I'll get, of course, ask you more questions from there. But just tell us a little more about yourself and your history.
Sure, sure. Well, you always kind of like outdoors, and particularly in the wintertime. I have a
Yeah.
kind of a thing for cold weather. I don't know. A lot of your people that might be watching this might be three season friends, but somehow I added it up once. I've got over 100 nights sleeping on the snow. Okay, so so anyway, I started reading about this though. I mean, I was in high school. I read about Admiral Byrd's expeditions to the South Pole
Uh-huh.
and how they kept warm. So I made myself a shell garment at that point,
Yeah.
and uh, I had a paper route, and my father and I went together and bought my first down sleeping bag. Okay, so so anyway, that kind of got me started. But then I went off to college and kind of forgot about all that stuff for a while, and and then though after I got out of school, I met with a friend, and he wanted to show me some things. And he took me in the back room of his apartment, and here he had a tent, he had a pack. I said, "Man, I'm ready to go. Let's go." And so I went out and got a few things, but at the end of the day, when I looked around at down gear and so on, I felt I could make things just as good as I could buy.
Yeah.
So I made a pair. I mean, the first thing I made was a down jacket. Then I made down pants, and then I made a down sleeping bag. And I made a cold weather sleeping bag that I've since used down to -25 in the White Mountains.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so that's how I kind of got started making this stuff. But I got into the Cleveland Mountaineers. I was living in Cleveland. I was working at NASA at the time, at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, as a research scientist. And so I joined the club, and a lot of it was climbing, but a lot of it was other outdoor activities like whitewater rafting and winter mountaineering and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And we would go to the Adirondacks every winter, every Christmas, New Year's break. So then all these guys saw my gear and they started saying, "Hey, how about making me this? How about making me this?" One guy got 6 sleeping bags for me. 6 sleeping bags. Okay, he had he had two for mild weather, two for medium weather, and two cold weather.
Yeah.
Uh, and the cold weather bags. He was with me as well as another guy. We were in the White Mountains at -25. And everybody's sleeping in my sleeping bags, right? And nobody got cold. I mean, we make
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of Gryphon Gear, and that is we overstuff our bags of quilts to make sure
Okay.
people stay warm. In other words, if you buy something for it has a 20-degree rating, it's going to be warm at 20 degrees. It's not a survival number.
Yeah.
So so that's kind of how I got started way back when. And I formed a little company back there and so on. But life gets in your way sometimes, and you have children and so on. So I went along then for a number of years and did minimal backpacking and so on. But then come around the turn of the century here, and I started thinking about this again. And of course, I had a lot of trips in between. But uh, about 2011, I said, I'm not finished with this outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so so I created Gryphon Gear, and so it's like it's a project that number one, it's not done, but number two, it's never ending.
Yeah.
Okay, so I look at it like that. There are challenges every day, and have a technical background. I try to apply science where applicable, and maybe we'll talk about some of that a little bit as we go.
Yeah.
like a vapor radiation barrier that we use in a sleeping bag. That's all technology based kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So uh, that's that kind of gives you an idea. I've had a couple go arounds at this thing.
Yeah.
Back when, and then, but a lot of things have changed, and we can talk about that as we go.
Yeah.
Principally the weight of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
you go ahead. I'll toss it back to you.
No, no. So for people who are listening right now too, like I know I had said quilts and sleeping bags, but what would you think stands out for you with Gryphon Gear that's like your kind of like, hey, we do this in a different way than most people do?
Well, um, several things. One of the things we've incorporated on our sleeping bags is we have this frost bib,
Hmm.
okay, which is right up near your chin. It's one of the top baffle. Basically, we use sil nylon. Now, one of the things, I mean, if you're out in the wintertime, in cold weather, you get condensation from your breath on your sleeping
Yeah.
bag and you get it wet. And if it's cold enough, you'll freeze and you'll have ice on the sleeping bag. And basically this addresses that.
Yeah.
Okay. You can just wipe it off. Okay.
Huh.
Now, if you didn't have the experience of sleeping out in the wintertime, you wouldn't know about that, right?
Yeah.
So so we've applied that. And the other thing is you can look at uh, we do an overfill of 80% overfill, and people say, "Well, what's overfill?" Well, we use 900 fill power goose down, and so the question comes out is what's fill power? Well, 900 fill power means 1 ounce of down will fill 900 cubic inches. It will
Hmm.
deaden that much airspace, okay? And you have to deaden it so that you don't have air moving around and convection currents in
Yeah.
it and transporting heat. So so this overfill then, what we do with that with the 80% overfill means that, for example, if 1 ounce fills 900 cubic inches, if you put 2 ounces in the 900 cubic inches, that's 100% overfill.
Okay.
Okay, so that gives you an idea. So we're
Yeah.
we're at 80%. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what does 80% do? It does a couple things for you. Number one, it resists shifting. Okay, because down's pretty light, and when it all fluffs up, if you tilt it around a lot, sometimes it'll shift around. So the
Yeah.
more you put in there, the less shifting you get. And the other thing is the density goes up, and there is some impact on the heat transfer as a function of density, but we'll get into that another time.
Yeah.
But but nevertheless, those are things that make us different. Okay, and the other thing is our side block baffle in our sleeping bags. Uh, a lot of people just sew a
Yeah.
behind a zipper, but ours is actually a continuation of the sleeping bag. It's as though you made the sleeping bag 5 or 6 inches wider and put the zipper up on the side of it,
Yeah.
okay? So basically you get something that looks like this,
Yeah.
okay? And where my fingers are the tubes,
Yeah.
okay? And the zipper is right here where it overlaps. So that's very unique, and there's a lot of work goes into that. It's a lot
Yeah.
more than sewing a tube on, okay? So, we do calculations, but of course, anybody that makes sleeping bags has to do the same thing, where
Yeah.
you have the, how much you're going to put in each. I saw something interesting. I just kind of throw it out here. Back a long time ago, there was, a pretty well known company, and and the sleeping bag, the tubes varied in width.
Uh-huh.
Pretty much today you see they're all the same, right?
Yeah.
So if they're all the same, but the length changes, then you have to vary the amount of down that you put in each tube, right?
Okay.
But here, what I think, I never measured it, but it made the width of the tubes different. As you got more narrow, the
Yeah.
tubes got wider, and it basically made it so he puts the same amount of down in each tube.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which from a manufacturing standpoint, that's semi, it's
Yeah.
a little bit brilliant. Okay. You know, but again, what happened was what that also brought around was the wider the tube, you actually get a higher loft out of that tube.
Okay.
So the tubes then, as you got closer to the foot, they actually got thicker. You got more loft out of
Yeah.
it, which is something to think about because you know smaller parts of your body lose more heat
Mhm.
than the center part,
Yeah.
and maybe your legs, that would be a good thing to do. Okay, I did some calculations on that once upon a time, but that's something to revisit too. That's another
Yeah.
thing to look at. See, you know,
No, so well, when we started talking, I think the best part about talking with you is you have like some people just make quilts or just make things because they love it, but they don't necessarily know the technical side behind it. But
right?
for me, when I talk to you, I love the technical side of things sometimes too. And so when I hear it, I feel like you've put a lot more thought than some people have into it. And I see that in the bag, and I see that in the quilt and stuff like that. And in just taking the care behind it. So do you think? Um, I guess because there was my wife put a reel online, right? And it was a funny kids math thing, and I thought it was so funny that you had emailed me and asked if my wife was doing something with
Quantum mechanics,
quantum
because
mechanics.
it was a
But yeah,
Schrodinger wave equation.
yeah,
Okay, she had up there.
yeah, and she had just found an equation online and put it on the thing, and I think that reel had gotten like 5 or 6 million views, but no one had said anything about the equation on the thing except for you. And I thought it was great that you had seen that. So I think that's a great thing that you have a different perspective on it. Is one, you have the experience in the outdoors that not as many people. Not trying to age you or anything, of course, but like
Well,
you
that's
have.
pretty obvious, right?
Right. But you have that one, you have the knowledge and the experience, but you also have the technical side of it that I don't think a lot of people always do, which can sometimes hinder it, right? Can sometimes make it really, really good. Because on the other hand, you might try to overthink it sometimes versus just
Yeah,
going ahead and doing
sure,
it, right? And I'm sure you
sure.
kind of run into that. I sometimes overthink a lot of things that I do, and I'm like, okay, I just need to go ahead and do it. So it's great that
Great.
you have come into the space and gone, okay, I want to make this. And you're doing the overstuffing, and you've got these different ideas. I know I'd seen a really cold weather bag that you do as well. It's got like a reflective type of um, uh, coating on it as well. I'm butchering it, of course, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But it reflects the heat more and everything else, like you've explained it to me. So um, how how do you go about um, refining your product, or how do you go about creating new ideas like that? Like I know you've said a bunch of different ideas that you have, and how do you go about picking that one idea and going, okay, I'm going to now just do this quilt versus the other ideas that maybe you have?
Yeah, well, it all comes down to focus,
Yeah.
and going back to basics, okay? It's always going back to basics,
Hmm.
okay? And, if you ever heard of any of the Feynman lectures, Richard P. Feynman, a Nobel laureate in physics,
Okay.
he always is back to basics, okay? So you always go back to basics. So,
Yeah.
and if you're in a sleeping bag or a quilt, you're dealing with heat transfer,
Yeah.
okay? And you mentioned our, VBR, Taurus VBR.
Hmm.
VBR stands for vapor radiation barrier, and that's what that aluminized Dyneema lining is in that sleeping bag, okay? Because sleeping bags normally address, heat loss by there are 4 methods of heat transfer: conduction, convection, radiation, and evaporation. So, uh, uh, those are the basics, right? So you go
Yeah.
back to basics and you say, "Okay, can I apply these basics to sleeping bags?" Right? So normally, a regular sleeping bag addresses conduction and maybe some convection, but convection is normally on the outside as opposed
Hmm.
to in the insulation. So, but they don't address radiation or evaporation. So you say, well, what can we do about that? Okay, so radiation, we get warmth from the sun by
Yeah.
radiation. I mean, there's no conduction. Okay, so 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 how does all that work? Well, there's a technical term. There's a Stefan Boltzmann law, okay, which has to do with radiation, and that can be applied. But with that aside, it comes down to shiny surfaces. Shiny surfaces are radiate heat back to you,
Hmm.
where dark surfaces absorb heat. Okay, so that's an emissivity
Yeah.
type of number, and so that's one of the key things in this stuff on most of them. So anyway, so if you illuminize a surface, it'll tend to be more reflective, and you see these space blankets around. Okay, that's their
Yeah.
concept. They don't address conduction; they address the radiation. Now, the other thing is evaporation. Now, evaporation is kind of interesting because, when you sweat, you evaporate moisture and it takes heat from your body, right?
Yeah.
So when that heat evaporates, it takes 240 calories per gram of moisture that's evaporated from your body. Now, those aren't dietary calories.
Hmm.
Those are a dietary calorie is 1,000 of these, true calories. Okay.
Okay.
So so basically that would be a half, 0.54 of dietary calories, okay? But, for the amount of water that you might lose from your body in the wintertime, and you say, "Why do you're in a sleeping bag, you're not sweating." Yes, you're losing moisture by what they call insensible perspiration. And the
Uh-huh.
reason you're losing the moisture is because the relative humidity in your sleeping bag is very, very low. In other
Okay.
words, you take the air at 0 degrees, say, and you bring that air, which might be say 50% relative humidity, and you bring it in your sleeping bag and you warm it up to your body temperature. All of a sudden, that air now is at, say, 4% approximately.
Okay.
It's approximately 4% relative humidity, and that's drier than a desert. Okay. So what happens is your body loses moisture and doesn't even know it. Okay.
Okay.
Because you're in a very, very low humidity type of environment. All right. Now, when that moisture evaporates, it takes heat from you. So how can you stop that from happening? What you do is you put a vapor barrier in.
Okay.
Now, we use the Dyneema because it's aluminized, but you could use a coated fabric as well, or you could sleep in a garbage bag. Okay. I mean, it'll work,
Yeah.
okay? It stops an aluminized garbage bag would do the same thing,
Okay.
okay? And so it stops the, evaporation from your body. But now there is a potential problem with it, and that is if you get into warm weather, it's very clammy,
Hmm.
okay? And so we only recommend this for below freezing, below 32 degrees Fahrenheit
Okay.
or 0 degrees Celsius type of application. Now, the other thing it keeps from happening is if you're in the cold weather for an extended period of time, this moisture from your body, that's going out through the lining, it's in the form of a water vapor. But when it reaches the dew point, it will condense into liquid, into
Yeah.
moisture, and that moisture will accumulate in the insulation, whether it's down or polyester or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll accumulate in your bag. Okay. So this tends to kill off the loft. And so over an extended period of time, that accumulates. And if it doesn't kill off the loft, you're in a polyester or something, it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. Okay. So and it kills off the insulating capability.
Yeah.
So the vapor barrier bag is good for extended periods of time at low temperatures to keep that from occurring.
Okay.
Okay. So that's not generally discussed anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's good
Okay.
info. Like, yeah. I think people don't even realize it. Like, even if you're creating a product, if someone's out there and they're doing their make your own gear style thing and they're like, "Oh, I love this thing." There's certain things you have to look at, not just creating something and putting enough down in it.
Right.
It's you have to look at all these different aspects. And I think that's why I like listening to you speak is you're giving me so much more information that I never would have even thought of.
Yeah. Right.
And,
Right. Right.
not every consumer needs to have that info, but I think
Right.
as
Exactly.
from the product perspective, if there are companies who are listening, you have to do that research. You have to do a lot more research sometimes so that way you don't make those bigger mistakes.
Well, a lot of
Um,
outdoor people tend to be a little bit on the techie side. I mean,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
run into that, and they kind of like that.
yeah.
Okay, and the other thing is this vapor radiation barrier Taurus bag was also tested in Alaska and was written up in Backpacker Magazine a few years ago. And
Okay.
the tester ended up buying the bag. And he also teaches winter outdoorsy
Yeah.
things in Alaska. And he liked the whole concept and the whole thing. So I gave him a deal. Okay. So, oh,
That's great.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, that's good.
So, like, if if someone's listening right now, is there anything since you've been creating your quilts and sleeping bags and stuff like that? Is there any kind of moment when you were creating it where you were like, oh man, you've had an oh crap moment where something has just been really, really
Well,
hard or really, really crazy?
well, yeah, a couple things, maybe.
Yeah.
One thing is when I first got into this again, I wanted to create a website.
Yeah.
So so a friend of mine knew somebody that had a company that did that. So I went to these guys and they created our first website, very nice
Yeah.
website. Okay, but it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. And later on, though, we, got into this a little bit more, and I had an associate that was helping me on a couple things, and we just actually and this is not a plug for Shopify, but we were on
Yeah.
Shopify, and, he created a like website and just created it, like, in a few days, okay?
Yeah.
And it was gee whiz, I wish I'd known that before, okay?
Yeah.
And but now, some of these designs get a little bit tricky, okay? That's
Hmm.
the other kind of not so easy thing.
Yeah.
When you get into our Gemini sleeping bag with a hood and everything, there's a lot of things have to come together right,
Yeah.
in the sewing part and the patterns and making these patterns and everything. Patterns are kind of fun to make. They take a bit of time, but
Yeah.
you have to be a little careful and then doing all the calculations and everything. But I would say the expense of the website the first time
Yeah.
around was the biggest oh crap kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you
yeah,
think that from your side of it, right, being a technical person and saying like a lot of people in the outdoor space, tend to be because I mean all kinds of people and they come up with a great product, but might not necessarily know the marketing side of it, right? And so do you think from
well,
your
that's my
perspective, it's
weakness,
like,
okay?
yeah,
That's my weakness, okay? I'm
yeah,
the tech side, and the marketing side has been the biggest challenge, okay,
yeah,
for us. Reaching enough people and reaching people and people, one of the things that has been, interesting, though, is, Reddit Ultralight. Now, Reddit
okay,
Ultralight, one of the administrators of that, website is I'm located in the greater Detroit area here in Michigan.
yeah,
So one of the administrators is here in this area. So he actually came to my house and we I showed him everything and expedition parkers and everything, right?
yeah,
Anyway, so he did a little write up and I did a write up and it kind of got things kicked off. And I really, appreciate that, assistance or, assistance might be that
oh yeah,
not quite the right word, but nevertheless, that help in getting things kicked off and getting it
yeah,
going. And the other thing is when people, we've gotten a lot of positive comments on our gear. Everybody seems to
yeah,
be happy. I got very little negative feedback on anything, but nevertheless, when they put it in Reddit, that helps a lot. Okay, that helps a
yeah,
lot. And of course, we're doing a bit of Instagram and social networking that way, and we get quite a few hits. On it depends on how broad we put it out, but nevertheless,
yeah,
we're getting that as well. But the Reddit people and people, get quite a few emails too. That's something that maybe we could mention here, and that is a lot of people want something custom. They want
yeah,
something not quite like is on the website. So
yeah,
we're pretty flexible on that. Being a small company, we can do that.
yeah,
Okay, but that means also that we make everything to order, and that is
mhm,
you have to wait 4 to 6 weeks till you get it
yeah,
because when I added up how many options, even on the quilts, I mean, it was over 200.
yeah,
Okay, and that is that you have this width. You got four different widths. You've got 3 different lengths. You got 3 different colors, and you multiply each one of those out, and that gives you how many potential options or
Mhm.
choices that you have, and you just couldn't stock all that.
Yeah.
It would cost you millions just
Yeah.
to stock that. So we make everything custom, but that means though that you might be able to make tweak something for somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, and we try to do that. And if it's just minor modifications, we usually don't charge anything extra for it. And even I've even redone some patterns to make some things, and we haven't charged for the work that went into making the pattern.
Yeah.
So, like duo sleeping bags, we've made several of those, or
Mhm.
quilts, duo quilts, extra wide, 88 inches wide, and we made them, made several of those. So, uh, and then we usually make our Taurus bags with a zipper on the left, but somebody wanted to be able to mate them. Okay, and you
Okay.
have to have separating zippers, and one has to be on one side, one has to be on the other.
Yeah.
So, we made some of those last month. So, uh, you know, there's flexibility, and so I'm getting emails from time to time. I always have a couple emails going where somebody wants
Yeah.
to modify this or change this or do this or can you do this for me or whatever. So a little bit, got to be a little bit careful about it, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, it's something that we can try to accommodate people. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
No, I think it's great that like you know, quote unquote cottage brands, you have the ability to do that kind of thing because you're never gonna
Mhm.
get a mountain hardware sleeping
Yeah, right.
bag with custom stuff. It is what it is.
Well,
And I think a lot of
It was sewn in China, and they made several hundred of them, and they shipped them by
yeah.
boat, and you know, and
No,
anyway,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a whole other thing to discuss, right?
No, yeah. When I meet people on the AT or when I was near the PCT last year, um, I I would meet people and everybody loves to just customize their own, whether it's their look, what they're wearing, or their gear,
Yeah,
especially when you're going to be out for that amount of time. Now, if you're out for one night a year and you're just a very
yeah,
casual
right.
person, it doesn't matter. But when you're out there for, you know, a month, 2, 3 months, or even 2 or 3 weeks, a couple of trips a year, you want something that's going to be perfect for you. And I think that's the great part about you being able to customize it. So, is there anything you could say to that customizing portion of it that is maybe it's great, but I know you said you got to kind of be a little bit careful on it
Careful.
too, that
Yeah.
you don't do so much custom that now you're just working so much. Like, so what are the limits or what are the things you find that are hard with doing the custom side of it?
Well, there are some things that are easy to do, okay? Like widths are easy to
Uh-huh.
do. I make it put a larger foot in, and some people have bigger feet and they want a larger foot box, okay?
Yeah.
That foot box, since I mentioned that, that's sort of a, it's a subject. Some people
Uh-huh.
make quilts so that they can open the foot box and get
Hmm.
a lot of air,
Yeah.
okay, or whatever. So usually you have some kind of zipper down that bottom piece of the quilt where it's sewn together and it goes around the foot end, and then you have a drawstring on the foot end, right?
Hmm.
Now, you know, so, but I've always taken a little different approach to this. I said, our quilts and sleeping bags are for keeping you warm.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you try to bastardize this thing and try to make it so it's has all this flexibility and everything, you
Yeah.
actually take away from everything. Okay,
Yeah.
you're not good at this and you're not good at that. All right, so
Yeah.
uh, we decided to be good at keeping you warm.
Yeah. I think
Okay,
it's
so
great. You're
our foot,
specializing in keeping people warm instead of you can't like there's only so many things that one person can do, especially right? Versus like for me, I have a closed-toed sleeping quilt, but I can simply just if I do need to, I just pull my feet out. But I also have an open quilt, but I'm like then I have the frustration of it does have some air leaks in it and stuff like that. So I get both sides of it. I think that's great that you
oh
just
yeah,
were like, hey, we're gonna go and this is our thing. We're keeping you warm.
last time I was in the Adirondacks, I mean it's been maybe 10 years ago. You know, one of the guys had a sleeping bag that, you could open the foot and it had a draw
Yeah.
cord and everything. He
Yeah.
froze in this thing. The other thing, it wasn't differentially cut either, and he was
Yeah.
tight inside, and the insulation was down. That's another point, and the insulation was down to about 0. So the
Yeah.
guy froze, but he wouldn't admit it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Now, uh, speaking of differentially cut means that the outside's cut bigger than the inside. In other words, the
Okay.
width. So it's like two circles inside of one another. A small one on the inside and a bigger one on the outside.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you put your elbows out like this, you don't end up that going down to 0 thickness. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you maintain thickness. Now that what that also does is allow the down to loft out.
Yeah.
If they're both cut the same, the outer can't get bigger, so the down has to loft in.
Okay.
So it takes away from the inner space. Now some people call that space filler.
Okay.
Okay, but but what happens is if you buy a quilt, say that's 54 inches in width, if you get one where it's differentially cut, the 54 inches is a true 54 inches that you can use
Mhm.
around you because the down goes out.
Yeah.
Now, if you get the other one that's 54 inches, it's 54 inches on the outside and the down has to come in. So your actual usable space is reduced. So
Okay.
you're not getting 54 inches wide. Okay, so I have a lot of questions about that sometimes. People say,
Yeah.
how wide is it really?" And I say,
Yeah.
"It's really 54 inches wide because it's differentially cut."
Yeah.
Okay? And a number of quilts out there are not differentially cut. You know guys that try to say, "Okay, they're strong on marketing, but weak on product."
Yeah.
Okay? There's some of those
Yeah.
out there too.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I think
Okay, so we're probably strong on product or weak on marketing, okay? That's to be quite
Yeah.
honest about it. Yeah.
No, I think that what you're saying is very true. Is there's a lot of times, and I always reference back to my wedding photography days too, and is that I know a lot of photographers who are really, really good, but they just can't get work. And there's photographers that they suck, but
Yeah, right.
they
Yeah.
got work out the wazoo because people are just hiring them because they're just really good at marketing and talking the
It's
talk,
all
but they just
marketing.
can't walk the
Yeah.
walk, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think for
Mhm.
anybody who's listening and you have a company that you're trying to grow, and we just had a guest on, I'm not sure if the episode is before this or after this, but you need to find those things that you're strong in and sometimes take that initiative to sub out the stuff that you're not very
Yeah.
strong
You
in,
gotta
right?
get
But
help.
then,
You gotta get
yeah.
help, okay?
And
It's
it's
like
hard when you're
running a
small though, right?
yeah, but it's like running a company. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been CEO of a couple companies. Okay, basically, you don't do everything.
Yep.
You have a good team, and and you delegate, and everybody, and you get the job done. So it's a little bit like this is similar. Okay,
Mhm.
we do certain things here, we do certain things well, but we don't do everything, and we can't do everything,
Yeah.
so we need some help. Okay, and
Yeah.
that's kind of one of the reasons we're talking today, too, right?
Yeah.
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 So
And like just going back to that whole thing about like there's only so much you can do. Like we talked earlier, and like it's for people who are listening too, like I mean, it's just you, right? It's you and your wife making all these. It's not
yeah.
anybody else. It's just the two of you guys having fun, throwing down at each other and stuff
Oh
and
yeah.
having a blast in the basement.
She works a day shift, I work the night shift and weekends.
That's great. Um, I guess my next question then leading into this whole thing is how has your relationship in the outdoors um, changed since you've grown your business? Like I know a lot of people can get disconnected from the outdoors, but you still find like
Yeah.
yourself being a part of the outdoor space?
Well, I don't get out as much as I used to.
Yeah.
There's reasons. I mean, my knee's a little sore, and some of
Yeah.
these other things. But nevertheless, even a few years, I've participated in some outdoor clubs. Okay, and I even taught a class on how to make your own quilt.
Okay.
Okay, you know, uh, so and I taught. Um, Parts of the winter classes, okay?
Okay.
Having a lot of winter experience and everything. So, that keeps you in touch,
Yeah.
even though a lot of the people you see, I told you about getting into the mountaineering club way back
Hmm.
when. Those guys were diehard guys, okay? That was
Yeah.
Where the local outdoor club is kind of, you know, it's different. Okay, it's
Yeah.
different. Okay, so, but nevertheless, people that like the outdoors in both cases.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just the how much of it they want to drink, right?
Yeah.
So to speak. Okay. So anyway, but you keep in touch that way. Okay.
Yeah.
And sa people make the same mistakes all the time, okay?
Yeah.
And so, that doesn't change,
Yeah.
and, like I was telling you a little while ago about the things that have changed over the years, though, are probably the materials.
Yeah.
You see, when I did, sleeping bags the first time around, ripstop, well, there was taffeta just like today, taffeta and
Yeah.
ripstop, okay? So those are your 2, and quite honestly, ripstop is it's more a name than it is,
Yeah.
and how it works, okay? Because it and taffeta, they're not that much difference. But anyway, uh, today we use, when I started out, I got some 20 denier fabric, and I ended up getting more 10 denier fabric just to even go lighter.
Mhm.
But the fabric back in the old days was 70 denier fabric, and
Whew.
it was 1.9 ounces per square yard, where now
Yeah.
the fabric today is below 1 ounce,
Yeah.
a square yard, okay? So, uh, and the term denier, I don't know whether you know what that term denier, let's see, I believe it's the weight in grams of 9, I think it's, let's see, 9 kilometers. 9 kilometers of that fiber. Okay, now
Okay.
9 kilometers is what, about 6 miles? Okay,
Yeah.
5 miles, take a fabric 5 miles long and weigh it, okay? If it comes out to 10 grams, and
Okay.
it takes 28.35 grams in an ounce, okay? So anyway, so you can see those fibers are really, really, really lightweight, okay?
Yeah.
They're thinner than the hair on your head probably,
Yeah.
okay? I haven't done a measurement, but nevertheless, so that's what people are using in quilts
Yeah.
today, and 10 denier, fabrics made with 10 denier fibers. Okay, and of course, the other thing is, back in the old days, the best down you could get was 550 fill power,
Mhm.
550.
Wow.
Today, you could you I mean, the standard is 850 to 950. Okay, so we do 900.
Yeah.
Okay, so it takes less down to give you the same loft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, so anyway, those are probably the biggest changes that I've seen, from back when to now. Okay.
Yeah.
And and people, you can go ultralight's a real thing now.
Mhm.
Back then packs were a lot heavier.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, you know, the heaviest pack I ever carried, I think, was in the White Mountains. We were doing we were going to do a lot of the presidential traverse. We got part of it done, but the weather got
Yeah.
pretty bad on us. Okay, but the pack was 65 pounds. Now, can you imagine going up 3 or 4,000 feet in one day in the snow with 65 pounds on your back? Well, I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to do that again.
Yeah.
I'm a little old in the first place, to do that. But secondly, even if I were younger, I wouldn't want to do that again. So
Yeah.
everything's everything's a lot lighter today.
Yeah.
And people get down to these base weights, where you don't have water, you don't have food, down in the 10-pound range. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, that's with your shelter, your bag, and, you know, oh, you were asking, or we were talking about, what's one piece of equipment you would like and one piece that you don't think's
Yeah.
very good. And I think about that, and there are three key pieces of equipment. Number one is your sleep system, your bag, and your pad, and the other
Yeah.
is a tent, and the third one is a pack.
Yeah.
Okay, so those were probably the heaviest items too. So those are the
Mhm.
places to take the weight out. So that's what we've done, and of course we make the quilts and we feel like, or the sleeping bags, and we feel that's probably the most important because you can sleep in a shelter. You don't need
Yeah.
a tent necessarily.
Mhm.
So, but you got to have that sleep thing because you got to get some kind of decent rest too.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing is that, I'm yeah, one of the things about outdoor gear and things like that. It's kind of a lot of it's gone Main Street.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's not backcountry. It's not mountaineering. It's
Yeah.
just Main Street.
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing that that probably best exemplifies that are these down jackets with the little skinny tubes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you see them all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Now, now, you know how thick they are. I mean, they're maybe that thick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So thickness is warmth at the end of the day. All right. So those things, I put them in the sweater category.
Yeah.
Okay. They're a down sweater. They're not a
Yep.
down jacket. And
Yeah.
they look, they have a little cool look about them and
Yeah.
everything. And you can wear them around the city, around the
Yeah.
streets and everything. But if you're going to backcountry, leave it at home, okay?
Uh-huh.
Or put it down in the bottom of your sleeping bag to help keep your feet warm or something, okay?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's in my opinion, they're a joke. Okay,
Yeah.
they're a
Yeah.
joke. Okay, and I mean, if you're a serious outdoorsman, they're a joke.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
and you might. I mean, now in summertime, that would work nice as a sweater to take along because the evenings can get kind of cool.
Mhm.
Okay, something like that. So, I mean, there's a use.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's not a
No, yeah,
backcountry
because
use.
'cause I've
You
seen a
know?
picture that you showed me of something that you sewed, and I'll if I can remember to put it on the screen, I will, of, like, that big, down jacket and pants and everything else that you had built for when you're out in the freezing cold. And
Yeah,
because for me, I'm a three-season guy, but
yeah,
I have those four-season moments that I'm out there, and I'm just glad I have enough. I'll just pack extra layers, but try to keep it where I'm still loose enough where I'm keeping the air flow as opposed to I know a lot of people will throw a lot of layers on and then it gets so tight there's no air being trapped now and
right.
then
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah,
so I totally get that. I have a jacket that I bought for my wife years ago. She doesn't wear it at all. It's literally a down jacket, but it's literally nothing. It's just like cloth and a
yeah.
little bit of feathers inside, and I'm like,
Yeah,
why
right,
did we
right.
spend $300 on this thing? And it was literally just for what it looked like.
Yeah.
And at
No,
that
that's
time, I was buying it for looks, but I was also buying it for function for her to wear. So she usually just wears it as like a prop whenever we'll have to take some pictures sometimes from five or 6 years ago or something like that.
right, right,
But yeah,
right.
so
But let me
going,
add
yeah, yeah,
right, let me add one other thing, and that is
yeah,
when you're out in the backcountry, you don't wear the down jacket,
yeah,
okay?
yep,
Because it's way too much
hmm,
insulation, okay?
yeah,
Because you're working your, off, okay? I mean,
yeah,
you're working hard, and most of the time you got to deal with perspiration, with
yeah,
not getting too damp. And I mean, in many cases, I've had my shirt unbuttoned down to the waist,
yeah,
and back in the old days, I had some of this fishnet underwear. I don't know if you ever saw that, but,
yeah, yeah,
just to, because you were producing so much heat. So
yeah,
when you got to where you were going and you took your pack off and you took off maybe your shell garment, then you put the down jacket on.
yeah,
Okay, and then you're standing around, okay? Then
yeah,
you're standing around, then you gotta keep warm. So that's when you use the down jacket. So that's the
yeah,
philosophy, and the experience. That's just experience
yeah.
talking, right?
No, exactly. Yeah, when I
Okay.
take friends out, the funniest thing is, and not funny. I mean, it goes comes with experience, right? But when I take friends out for the first time and they've never been camping, and then they're cold. We get out of the car and they've got all these layers on. I'm like, and I'm just in a t-shirt, and they're like, "Man, aren't you cold?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like that whole "be bold, start cold."
Yeah.
I'm like, but once we start moving, and then we've got to stop 3 or 4 times on the trails. They take one layer off after another,
Exactly, yeah.
and right, and then we get to camp, and they're finally like, and then I'm like, okay, this is why you brought that stuff, is because now we're just sitting here
Right.
talking, drinking some coffee, or just enjoying the
Yeah.
view. And now I'm like, I'm so glad I brought the stuff that I
Yeah.
brought. So
Well, and a lot of times, if they're not equipped, what they do is get a sleeping bag,
yeah,
okay?
oh yeah, yeah,
You get where you're going and you don't have enough to keep you warm, you get in a sleeping bag. So,
yeah,
you know, and then maybe you cook in a tent, maybe you don't, okay? I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of frowned upon,
yeah,
okay? But nevertheless, I've done a lot of times, okay?
yeah.
All right. I mean,
So
even got down to T-shirt in the tent, okay, in the wintertime, okay. Anyway, you don't want to asphyxiate yourself, but nevertheless,
yeah, no, exactly.
or burn the tent
So
down. or burn a
So
tent
going
down.
into what since we're talking about like people enjoying the gear and stuff like that that they have, whether they don't enjoy it or enjoy it, do you have any moments like a customer story that hit really hard, like a great customer review that just really? Sometimes as a small brand, it's our emotional. It's like your baby, right? And so when someone says something good about your kid, you get super excited about it. So if you have a customer review or something that was like, man, whether you saved their life or something like that, that kind of thing.
Well, I don't think I've gone that far. I have, you know, I asked customers, if they like it to maybe go on
Yeah,
Reddit and put something on there. So they're,
yeah,
and then I get somebody writing me something and they say, "Hey, we saw this on Reddit." Okay.
yeah,
And, and da 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 to go into that. Uh, but, and people, the vapor radiation
hmm,
barrier. I've had a couple write ups.
yeah.
One gentleman, well, actually, one of them I shipped to Switzerland, and
Okay.
he did a write up on Reddit, but also on a German outdoor forum. He did a write up about it, and there's the gentleman that was a tester in Alaska for a backpacker. He did a write up on
Hmm.
Reddit as well. So those are all very, very
Yeah,
good and very, very positive things. Now, we've shipped gear. I mentioned Switzerland there, but
yeah,
we've sent gear to Switzerland, to Austria, to Scotland, to England or the other
yeah,
part of the UK, to Australia, and even Malaysia. That was probably, I mean, you don't think of Malaysia
yeah,
being someplace where,
yeah,
but he was doing quite a few trips. Okay,
yeah,
so we've shipped gear around the world. Okay,
yeah.
so
I think that's
uh,
neat to hear when you get to send your stuff to other parts of the world, and
yeah,
the world is so much smaller than we think it is.
oh yeah,
I just got back from Italy. This is a complete
right.
side story, but just got back from Italy from our 20th wedding anniversary. And I'm at a train station. We're waiting for a train, and we see an American couple. And
Mm.
we start talking to them. And I'm like, hey, are you from Atlanta? Like just out of the blue. And we're like, oh, where are you from? And they're like, oh, they're from this town. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm from that same town. We live a
Oh,
mile from each other here in Atlanta in a small subdivision
yeah,
area. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we've probably run into each other all the time. And so it's so cool when you get to send your stuff, your product off around the world, and you connect with all these different people, especially because you're making your heart and soul is in it
yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. I don't think people appreciate it as much. But then it also comes with those downsides too, because you're putting so much effort into it. Um, it can be daunting
It's good.
sometimes. Yeah.
And shipping overseas, the shipping costs,
Yeah.
make it a little more complicated. Okay, it's not as
Yeah.
easy as shipping here in the States, but nevertheless,
Yeah.
we can deal with that. Okay, we can
Yeah.
deal with that.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of just winding down into the last like couple of questions, like what does success look like for you now? Um, or has it changed from the beginning? Like, do you see a growth or where do you see yourself in the next, few
Yeah,
years?
sure, sure. Well, I've based on our where we originally thought what we wanted to do,
Yeah.
I think we've been successful so far.
Yeah.
But, I've got a lot more ideas and plans and things that I think, things that we can do,
Yeah.
okay? And so success is kind of like, the carrot in front of the donkey. You keep chasing this
Yeah.
thing, okay? But yet what you wanna have is a feeling of accomplishment
Hmm.
and a feeling, that you're 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 making something that has value, and other
Hmm.
people see that it has value. It's not just we're not just making these to make them, okay?
Yeah.
got a little heart and soul in this thing. I mean, I wouldn't
Mm,
come back and do this again if it was just a money thing. It's sure not a money thing. That's
yeah.
okay. So, it's a heart and soul thing. It really is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but I'm comfortable, but
Yeah.
I'm anxious from a standpoint that I want to get some more of these things done.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, anyway, maybe,
Okay.
maybe, maybe I get a partner that has a lot of money here, and then we'll
Yeah.
go. Who knows? Somebody maybe
Yeah.
listen to this and wants to say, okay, let's take this thing big time or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? The
Well,
world's a funny
what
place, right?
well, what you just said was really good. It's like your heart and soul is into it, and then you had said something that just sparked something in me as more of a statement that, like when I talk to people that create food, you're putting nutrition into somebody, right? And when you're creating something like a sleeping bag or a quilt, part of it is you're helping someone survive, in a lot of
That's a good way to
instances,
look at it.
is
Yeah.
right.
No,
And
that's
you have
good.
this great accomplishment of, hey, this person didn't die because I made a good product. you know
I haven't quite taken it to that extreme. Okay.
That's your slogan. Buy us, we won't kill you. So
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good
awesome.
though. That's good. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my last question before I go into our little lightning round, where I ask you a few little random questions that I didn't send you, that are more just like one word or two word answers, is what advice would you give to someone who's on the trailhead at the beginning of their business, who's starting something out? What's one piece of advice you could give to them?
Yeah, well, number 1 is don't quit your day job,
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, and number 2 is get your wife involved because that helps in multiple ways,
Yeah.
okay? Okay, so, and don't get discouraged either,
Yeah.
okay? It's easy to get discouraged. Don't you gotta be a positive person to do this kind of thing,
Mhm.
okay? And if you're not positive, if something's wrong all the time or you're a negative person, just don't even go there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's good. Staying positive is probably the hardest part because it's an emotional
Oh,
roller
yeah.
coaster. If you wake up and you're like, why am I doing this? And then you get
And
a
especially
sale or a story and you're
if you
just
do
super on
something
top of
wrong
the
and you
world.
gotta fix it, you gotta make something over, okay?
Yeah.
Things like that, you say, "Oh, I just spent how many hours here and I gotta" whatever. So,
Yeah. Have you
yeah.
ever had, this is just random, but like, have you ever had where you're making a quilt and you're, dead tired. And next thing you know, you're like, oh, I just made it inside out or upside down or put the
Yeah,
baffles
things
in wrong
things
or
like
something.
that can happen, but usually it's like anything, it's always fixable.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
normally it's fixable. Sometimes, I mean, it'll take time. It's
Yeah.
time. Worst case is if you've got something so much into it and it's so far along, there's some things that are very difficult to fix. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you may have to do it over again. Okay,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, if you're reasonably careful, you don't run into that. Okay, you may
Yeah.
forget something. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's easy to go back and do something that you forgot or something. But
Yeah.
but normally we don't have too many um, oh my gosh kind of
Yeah.
issues. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
we're careful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I mean,
awesome.
and that's because we're invested. Okay, if you
Yeah.
were a guy off the street doing this stuff, you wouldn't be quite as invested, and maybe you wouldn't take quite as much care, and maybe you'd have more
Yeah.
problems. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. You're on autopilot. 'Cause I know that sometimes I've gone through, I've been dead tired and editing and trying to do something, and then I get
yep,
halfway through an edit and I
yeah,
I completely am editing in the wrong resolution or something,
right,
and
right,
I'm like,
right.
oh, so I've got to redo it.
No,
I can go back and tweak it, but it might be a bit of a process. So
but you're better off to get a night's sleep and then go back rather than try to do it
yes.
right then because you
Yeah.
need to be a little more fresh because once you start down the spiral spiral, I think it's not good. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's great. Well, awesome. I mean, seriously, thank you so much. I mean, Gary, I learned a ton. I think people have learned a lot about Gryphon Gear and just your story. I know if they follow you on your socials and stuff like that, I know you're going to be coming out with some story stuff. There's a good video on your website too that just tells the story your brand and stuff like that. So if people are looking for Gryphon Gear, where can they find you online and on social media?
Well, on online, our website is just gryphongear.com. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Gryphon, it's an old world kind of spelling. It's
Yeah.
Gryphon. Okay. It's so the Gry, the Y has an I sound, and the PH has an F sound. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so
Perfect.
gryphongear.com. And we have Gryphon Gear on Instagram, and
Okay.
we have some things on Facebook too as well.
Okay.
And if you can write me at Gary at gryphongear.com or info at gryphongear.com. Okay.
Okay.
You can reach me directly. Okay. So, and
Perfect.
I see them both. Okay. I mean, info doesn't go to somebody that I don't know. Okay. And
Yeah.
then has to be relayed to me. It goes to me. Okay. So
Yeah.
I see it all. All right.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to our rapid fire round. This is to get to know you a little bit real quick, a few random questions. So they're basically like 1, 2 word answers, maybe a small sentence or two, but nothing too in depth. But first question I love asking people is, what's your favorite national park?
Oh, gee. Mm. Well, I've I've had some friends that went to Glacier, and I was really
Uh-huh.
impressed with the pictures that they brought back. So I would I don't know whether I ever get to go there or not, but I would like to go there. But I also did rim to rim in the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
So so, that's really impressive to me
Yeah.
as well. I mean,
Yeah.
the picture of the Grand Canyon does not do it justice, okay? You
Yes.
really have to see it, okay? So,
Yes.
anyway, okay?
I'm going to put rim to rim Grand Canyon.
Okay.
All right. Next thing is coffee or electrolyte drinks when you're on the trail. Which one do you like better?
Oh,
Or
water,
water?
water,
Water
water,
guy.
and sometimes I have coffee in the evening.
Yeah.
Electrolytes, I have taken a few of those electrolyte pills along,
Uh-huh.
okay? But hey, electrolytes something
Yeah.
new. Okay. I mean, I hiked for years without worrying about electrolytes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And somebody decided, oh, we should sell electrolytes. Okay.
Yes. That's good marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Next thing is solo hike or crew mission. Which do you prefer?
Solo or what?
Solo or with a group?
Oh, small groups. Small groups. I
Yeah.
mean, 4 people, 3, 4 people.
Yeah.
Uh, Big groups are kind of awkward. I've been on a few big groups, and I've taken people, larger groups,
Yeah.
to places like West Virginia and some of the wilderness areas and things like that. Those are okay,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit more. It's a little, the 3, 4 people are nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I agree. Once you
and
start going really big, then you get bogged down with there's something and it's
somebody
just so
falls in
much.
the stream. Somebody
Yeah.
falls in the stream, and you got.
Yeah.
We've had that it's snow on the ground and they fall in the stream. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Next question is um this is always an interesting one is what's your favorite trail snack and what's your worst trail snack you've ever tried?
Oh gee, that's boy, you've done these snail trail snacks. Anything that obviously you're looking for energy. So candy bars are just
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. And some of this trail mix where they put the peanuts and the M&Ms and all that in there.
Yeah.
Those are okay, but
Yeah.
quite honestly, I like Snicker bars. Okay.
I thought you were gonna say when you said candy bar, I was like, okay, Snickers
Yeah.
bars is like one of those go-tos because it's literally
Uh,
like a solidified trail mix,
Oh, it is.
kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, and there are some of these bars too. There's what's the name of them? Name the bars. Kind.
Oh, kind bars. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
those
Yeah.
are
Those
pretty
are my
good.
wife's favorite. Yeah.
Those are good. I like those too. Okay, the ones with
Yeah.
almonds in them and some other
Yeah.
those those are good. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
All right. And what's
bad
your
stuff. I don't
least?
know any. I don't take bad stuff, so I don't know any bad stuff.
All right. If you could work with any other brand on a new piece of gear, what would it be? Or what brand would it be? if you could collab with another brand?
Oh, well, you want me to actually name names?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, you know, I got a patent on the tents from I talked to you about this on the side,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, that incorporates some of the things, that we were talking about on the vapor radiation barrier.
yeah,
Uh, uh, and I sent a letter to Henry Shires at, Tarp Tent,
yeah,
because I was interested if because I got enough on my plate here making this down gear
yeah,
and making tents. You can't shotgun this stuff because you
yeah,
lose you lose your focus. Okay,
yeah,
so I thought, he might be a guy to work with on something like this.
yeah,
But then he decided that that wasn't for him. So
yeah,
uh, uh, that's my story. Okay,
yeah,
now I think I've got another company in mind I might approach on this. Uh, at the end of the day, we could do it
yeah,
at some point, but I don't think we have the resources at this point to do
yeah.
that. Okay,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
I've got a lot of good ideas on it, and like I said, uh, have a patent on it, and it's something that we should take advantage of.
yeah, yeah. Well, whoever's listening, if you're listening or watching this and you have a company, reach out to
Yeah,
Gary. He gave you his email, so go for it. You never
yeah,
know what will happen. He's got a
sure.
patent on it too, and
Yeah, we'll
it's a cool patent. So
they can make it
yeah,
for them and make it for us. Okay.
that's awesome. All right, I got two more questions for you. One is, what's your your biggest splurge you've ever made for your business so far?
The biggest one?
Splurge, biggest kind of ticket item you've ever bought for
The
your business.
that, uh, website, the first
Yeah,
website,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, that was, yeah.
It is a pain, isn't it? Because I know just from website development, a friend who does it, years ago, it would cost so much money, and now you can
I'm talking
literally for
thousands. I'm talking
yeah,
thousands.
yeah,
Okay.
and now you can find somebody to help you with it or even do it your own if you really want.
Yeah, yeah,
It's still
right.
hard, but for $50 a
Yeah,
month, you can have
yeah,
a
right.
was insane. So,
Now, when you
um,
order things like down and fabric and things like that,
yeah,
that's a chunk of change too.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So, you have to be, but of course, well, you have to be prepared to do it. Okay.
yeah,
But the website was the biggest one
yeah,
for at that.
yeah,
So,
yeah. All right,
yeah.
Lynn, last question. This is always a fun one is, what's one outdoor skill you still kind of suck at?
Oh. Hmm. That's interesting. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty good at most of them. you know?
I mean, you've got a lot of experience. I know just from the
Yeah,
stories you told me and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
I've
So,
had a little, while to hone my,
yeah,
my skills, okay?
yeah.
Um, the one that everybody struggles with, though, to
Uh-huh.
some degree is, is rainy weather,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, living in rainy weather, when it rains
Yeah.
for several days in a row, it takes certain skill
Yeah.
to deal with it
Yeah.
and a certain attitude to also, you
Yeah.
know? And the thing of it is, the solutions are not good.
Yeah.
There's no really good solution. And I
Yeah.
was talking about the thin, the skinny tubes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is Gore-Tex. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Now, you know, waterproof, breathable, that term. Maybe Gore-Tex.
Yeah.
Let me just be general about it. Say
Yeah. Yeah.
waterproof, breathable.
Yeah.
It's usually not.
Yeah.
Okay. It's usually waterproof and not breathable,
Yeah.
or it leaks or whatever.
Yeah.
But probably the best solution is completely waterproof.
Yeah.
Okay. And have something completely waterproof. You might sweat on the inside, you might get
Yeah.
damp on the inside. At least you don't have the rain coming through.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's pretty much the way waterproof, breathable works anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. But then it's not good when you really want breathable. See, waterproof, breathable is not very good either way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're better off having something that's completely waterproof and something that's completely breathable and
Yeah.
being able to switch back and forth. And
Yeah.
usually it's like, yeah, well, but anyway, that's probably one of the biggest challenges for an outdoors person. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you got the gear, you got your stove, you got whatever, you got a tent, you got all that, and
Yeah.
you can set that up and and things like that. But I would say that probably causes people,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, in my mind, that's
Yeah.
caused me more grief than anything else. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
You
my
really want to
solution
be
was,
out there.
just treat it as, if you get waterproof breathable, it's going to be waterproof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
want something that is breathable, it's something else. All right.
Yeah.
Because waterproof breathable is not really breathable.
That's correct. All right, awesome.
Okay.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for all the insight. I really appreciate it. And everybody who is listening, thank you so much for listening. We can't wait to have our next guest on. But Gary, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it and look forward to seeing you on the trail. Thanks so much.
Pleasure was mine. Pleasure was mine. I enjoyed the chat. Okay. We'll do it again. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary.
All right. Take care. Bye now.